As you might have already read in my story yesterday, the Oregon Legislature's Joint Committee on Transportation kicked off a 13-city tour on Tuesday in North Portland. They are soliciting feedback for what's expected to be a multi-billion-dollar transportation package they'll try to pass in the upcoming 2025 session. What you're about to see is my selected highlights from a 2-hour public hearing of testimony. There was a rally outside beforehand, and there was a massive crowd that showed up, standing room only, actually. So let's get right into it and listen to some of the testimony from the hearing.
My name is Jeff Lorenzini. I'm the manager of sales and service for Old Dominion Freight Line here in Portland. I'm also a member of the Oregon Trucking Association's board of directors. I've watched congestion issues in the metro area, particularly on I-205 and I-5, get worse and worse every year. Unfortunately, today, neither route has adequate capacity for our trucks, let alone passenger vehicles, to travel dependably. This means our trucks spend precious time idling on both highways, increasing the cost of all consumer goods, increasing our own cost, and increasing emissions in the surrounding neighborhoods that result from idling engines. 7 years ago, our legislature passed a transportation package in House Bill 2017 that was intended to fund congestion-reducing projects, but the lack of progress in the Rose Quarter seems unacceptable. The Rose Quarter is one of the worst bottlenecks in the country, and the hours that both trucks and passenger vehicles spend idling on that portion of I-5 is costing the metro area and our state economically and environmentally. Before ODOT looks to make any additional transportation investments, I believe that we must focus on completing the Rose Quarter project and finishing expanding needed capacity on I-205. Our region is growing, and we need to grow our highway system to meet the increasing demand for capacity. Thank you.
My name is Terry Parker. I live in Northeast Portland. The transit riders need to help pay for the roads. Furthermore, bicycling is not sustainable until bicyclists accept some accountability and pay for bicycle infrastructure. If a new I-5 interstate bridge requires tolling, then all users of the bridge must help fund the project. To fund light rail, a surcharge must be required on transit fares. To fund bicycle infrastructure, the purchase of a permit must be required to cross the bridge.
My name is David Sweet. I live in the Cully neighborhood of Northeast Portland. In 1968, I was relatively new to Portland, but I knew that the quickest way to access downtown was to zip along the west side of the Willamette River on the 4-lane Harbor Drive freeway. ODOT was proposing to widen it to make it even zippier. More seasoned Portlanders, like the late great Jim Howell, envisioned replacing the freeway with a park. As I speak to you tonight, Portland is enjoying the fruits of their vision at City Fair in Waterfront Park. 56 years later, ODOT again wants to widen the freeway. The I-5 Rose Quarter project is back on their agenda. Building the caps does not require widening I-5. Building the caps will create opportunities for many generations of Black Portlanders. Widening the freeway will burden my grandchildren with congestion, debt, and an unlivable climate. It will move us backward to the 20th century concept of designing cities for the rapid movement and storage of motor vehicles. It will also squander resources that should be used to help us heal the mistakes of the last century. Resources that could be used for transition to the sustainable transportation system Portland requires to avoid climate catastrophe: buses, trains, bike routes, sidewalks, walkable neighborhoods. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lynn Handlin with Extinction Rebellion, PDX, and I am also a small business owner in outer East Portland, and I ride the bus and the train. I also clearly care about climate and having a livable future for everybody's grandchildren everywhere, and one way to ensure that we don't have a livable future is to widen freeways. And we should absolutely cap the I-5 freeway. That never should have happened. So that's, a very just fix. Do not use that as an excuse to widen the freeway. And thanks.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and the Commission, Transportation Commission. My name is James Posey. I live in Northeast Portland. I'm also the president of the local branch of the NAACP. I found it very interesting watching the videos and the presentation by ODOT because I was formerly a contractor. I was an asphalt paver dump truck owner, and I watched all the activities and the billions and billions of dollars that had been spent over the years in this community. Truth of the matter is, black people have received very few of those dollars. That's why we have the highest unemployment rate. And now that we have an opportunity to get resources that will help build our community where we felt like we've been gentrified and left out. And so when I listen to folk talk about no more highways, I think they're really saying no more black people, because if we continue on the same trend that we have about excluding black people from our community and building capacity and making our community equitable, we're already in an earthquake. We're in an earthquake in which we're losing many of our citizens to high rates of incarceration, drug abuse, all of those things, all of those dollars, decades of spending millions and billions of dollars in its community, black people have not gotten their percentage in this community. I hope you all think about that as you move in this project along. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ada Crandall. I am 18 years old. I live in Northeast Portland. I ride the bus every day, and I'm an organizer with Sunrise Movement PDX. I'm here to ask that you all stop expanding highways and prioritize investing in active and public transportation infrastructure for the sake of our health, our communities, and to stop the climate crisis. The first time I realized our transportation system was broken, I was in 7th grade. As a Harriet Tubman Middle School student, I was constantly confronted with the reality of the I-5 freeway. Students were breathing cancer-causing air pollution every single day at recess. And as ODOT was proposing a multi-million-dollar expansion of the highway into the backyard of the school, there were multiple instances where students were hit by cars walking and biking to school, and one girl was hospitalized. That is a policy failure, and that is a choice that was made by the legislature. And for the record, while I oppose the I-5 expansion, we can absolutely be building housing and Albina and cap the freeway. Those things are not necessarily needing to go together. It should be racial justice and climate justice. They're not opposed to each other. It's both or nothing. I also currently sit on the Oregon Safe Routes to School Advisory Committee, where we are arguing over scraps in the budget while billions of dollars are going to highway expansions. We should not have to choose which elementary schools deserve crosswalks. All of us should have safe transportation infrastructure. I am counting on you all to fight for the future of my generation and for those values of young people and climate that you raised your hands for earlier be reflected in this transportation package. Thank you.
My name is Mitch Green. I am a resident of Portland's West Portland Park neighborhood. I am a PhD economist and a candidate for Portland City Council District 4. So I throw my credential out there to kind of back up these young folks who are speaking, with the Sunrise Movement. You may not believe them, but I have some gray hairs and a PhD, and they're right. So I'd like to speak to two opportunities for transit investments in Portland that can help TriMet clear its substantial bottlenecks that undermine its ability to provide an alternative to driving. First, running the MAX at grade through the Central Business District over the Steel Bridge is a major source of bottlenecks, and it prevents TriMet from realizing its scale benefits as a regional transit system. And this lack of scale and lack of reliability results in long delays, crowded cars, and leaves the system vulnerable to weather and surface traffic disruptions. So as a result, you get ridership that suffers, people then go back to driving, and that contributes to all the capacity issues these folks have been talking about, right? Additionally, the MAX system is vulnerable to impacts to the Steel Bridge, right? And just last month, or in April, we almost had a major train derailment accident that took that bridge out of service for potentially a very long time, maybe decades, okay? So this is a very serious concern. So we need to think about building a tunnel underneath the Central City District as a reliability investment. Thank you.
My name is Aaron Keene. I am a graphic artist. I live here in Portland, but I try to volunteer as much time as I can for an organization called Bike Loud, and I'm the chair of the board of Bike Loud, and we advocate for bicycles and bicycling here in Portland. Legislation is very complicated. There's a lot of words in it, and transportation documents are very complex and lots of words in them, so I only brought one word down here for you. Okay, this is the word bike. And the reason I bring it down to you is because I don't see it in a lot of state legislation, and I don't see it in a lot of transportation design coming out of the state. People talk a lot about active transportation, but I don't see the word bike or bicycle mentioned very often. People all over the state write to my organization asking how they can get safe places to ride their bicycle in their communities. And I don't know exactly what to tell them. There's not a straightforward way to do it. But I'm hoping that in this next legislative session that there can be more money and more opportunities for safe places to ride bikes around the state. Thank you so much.
My name is Christine Lewis. I serve on Metro Council representing District 2. I'm also vice chair of JPAC committee. I want to highlight one thing, one action. Robust reforms on current and new revenue streams for transportation investment. This could look like indexing the current gas tax and solutions like phasing in road user charges as the gas tax revenues continue to fall short.
My name is Sharon Wood-Wortman. I'm the author of the Portland Bridge book. I love bridges, especially the ones that stay standing. There are 800,000 people that live on the west side of the Willamette who are going to have no chance of getting across that river if the Burnside Bridge doesn't stay standing. I just want to tell you a couple of things about the Burnside. It's almost 100 years old. It sits on almost 800 40-foot tall Douglas fir trees. You can think about that the next time you cross the river. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Sarah Risser, and I am here with Families for Safe Streets. Okay, so all of our members at Families for Safe Streets have been impacted by a vehicular crash, either through the loss of a family member or because they themselves were seriously injured. I survived the crash that killed my son, Henry. Crashes like mine that take beautiful children from their families are not uncommon. This is because our traffic system, which consistently prioritizes vehicular traffic, is deadly and dangerous by design. It claims over 40,000 U.S. lives with horrific violence every year. Since 2010, well over 500,000 U.S. citizens have been killed in road traffic. In no other area of public life do we accept and tolerate this level of danger and death. The vast majority of road fatalities are caused by cars, trucks, and SUVs. Directing public resources away from projects that lock us into a car-centric transportation system, such as widening highways, and toward prioritizing modes of transit that are less deadly to other road users, such as public and active transit, would certainly save lives. These people deserve alternatives to driving and to have the option to leave their car behind and rid themselves entirely of financially burdensome car ownership. That is the promise that we need.
And we're definitely sorry for your loss, ma'am. Take care.
Yes, my name is Jordan Lewis.
Thank you.
4 years ago, I moved from my birthplace of West Virginia to live in a vibrant queer community here in Portland. Not only has Portland given me connection to so many great people, but living in the dense West Side has let my partner and I share a car, which saves us over $10,000 every year. The savings have gone towards rent, a vivid social life, and snazzy clothes off eBay. The hardest part of moving, however, has been thinking about the people I left behind. I have gay and trans friends who are basically stuck there, and it's really concerning seeing hateful legislation and right-wing hate marches on the streets of my hometown, Charleston. If we're going to see queer people flee regressive southern states, it's Oregon's moral responsibility to accommodate them with abundant, affordable housing and the means to live car-free, even outside of the transit-rich downtown. I'm frankly tired of how every time we dare to question our unwavering commitment to cars, we always have to imagine the low-income driver. Well, what about the low-income non-driver? You can be so poor that you literally can't afford to drive. I know people who are too poor to drive. I know people whose bodies literally don't let them drive. I've never heard of anyone being too rich to drive. My time here is limited, so I'll list off my wants for this legislative session. A max tunnel through downtown so trains can move more people more reliably faster. Cancellation of all freeway expansions throughout the state as they pollute our communities, burn our money, evict our neighbors, and don't even solve traffic. Regional rail throughout the Willamette Valley from Portland to Eugene, service to Hood River and Vancouver. An hourly express bus in Portland every hour, so even if you can't or don't drive, you can get across the city as fast as someone who does. Lastly, I want to reiterate that people take transit when it gets them where they want to go on time. People will not choose to wait 30 minutes for a bus just because you pressure washed the graffiti off the wall behind it.
My name is Josiah Kelly, and I would like to voice my opposition to the I-5 widening project. I have lived in this neighborhood my entire life, and throughout my entire life, my family has never been able to afford a car, so even if I wanted to drive anywhere, I wouldn't have the ability. I would like to voice my opposition specifically because as a member of the African American community in Portland, given the historical context of the fact that many hundreds of African Americans have been displaced by the construction of the I-5, in essence, more freeways, no more black people. There have been, across the country, billions of dollars spent on freeway projects, and not a single one has actually solved traffic. For example, I would like to bring up the Katy Freeway in Texas. There are sections that are 26 lanes, and there's still traffic. The only way to solve traffic is through public transit alternatives, not freeway widening. That's all.
Thank you. My name is Chris Smith. I'm co-founder of the No More Freeways campaign. There's a lot of nostalgia for HB 2017 here tonight, but listening to the conversation, you would think it only talked about freeways. There are a lot of other components to that bill, including safe routes to school funding, and the STIF program that has provided transit in parts of the state that never had it before. We should do more of both of those. I wouldn't want us to lose that point. The other thing that was in HB 2017 that we haven't realized is congestion pricing. And I will distinguish that from tolling. Congestion pricing is pricing that sends signals to drivers that encourages changes in behavior, but is not aimed at paying for projects. Unfortunately, HB 3055 enabled a shift from congestion pricing to tolling, and ODOT chose to move that forward in one of the places in the region that has few or no alternatives to driving. As a result, has poisoned the community against pricing as a tool. I would like to see us return to congestion pricing as the only tool that could actually manage congestion. We have 5 decades of experience that tells us that widening freeways does not reduce congestion. Thank you.
My name is Abby Griffith, and I am the Bus Riders Unite coordinator at OPO Environmental Justice Oregon. I'm blind. And like many others in our city, people with disability, low-income individuals, elderly people, young people, and people who cannot afford to own cars, I rely on the transit every day. And let me tell you, it's not good. Transit system is not good here to get around. And today, I urge you to invest in transportation in our city. Please do not ignore our voice. Invest in transportation in Portland. It's really hard to get around and very expensive for us to even live in downtown to be around where good transportation system. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. We have come to the end of our time. So thank you all for coming today.